The cryopod hissed and cracked open like a frozen tomb, breaking its seal. Commander Rebecca Stone gasped for air, her lungs burning as if she had been drowning. Her eyes shot open to see red emergency lights flashing across the ceiling. Something was very wrong. She tried to move, but her body felt like stone. Every muscle screamed in protest. Her fingers twitched first, then her toes. Slowly, painfully, she forced herself to sit up. The cryo fluid drained away beneath her, leaving her shivering in the cold air. Where am I?" she whispered, her voice barely working. A calm computer voice answered her. "Commander Stone, you are aboard the colony ship Prometheus. I am Atlas, the ship's artificial intelligence. I apologize for the emergency awakening." Rebecca's mind was foggy. She remembered entering the cryopod on Earth. She remembered saying goodbye to everything she knew. The mission was supposed to take 400 years. They would sleep through the journey and wake up at a new world. "Atlas, how long have I been asleep?" she asked, fear creeping into her voice. 847 years, Commander." The words hit her like a physical blow. "That's impossible. We were supposed to wake after 400 years. What happened?" "The ship encountered unexpected stellar phenomena. We were pushed off course. Automated systems have been attempting repairs, but many have failed. I had no choice but to wake you." Rebecca forced herself to stand. Her legs wobbled but held. She grabbed a nearby wall for support and made her way to the command center. What she saw through the main window made her blood run cold. Space was filled with debris. Hundreds of shattered ships floated in the darkness like dead insects. Some were so destroyed she could barely tell they had once been spacecraft. Others were torn in half, their insides exposed to the void. "Atlas, what am I looking at?" "Wreckage, Commander. Approximately 400 ships of unknown origin. The destruction is recent, within the last 30 to 50 years. I have also detected distress signals." Rebecca's heart pounded. They had left Earth to find peace among the stars. To build a new home. They never expected to find a graveyard. "Wake the others. Start with Dr. Emma Clark and Engineer David Morgan. Then wake Colonel Thomas Grant. We need answers." Over the next 2 hours, 3 more cryopods opened. The crew members stumbled out, confused and frightened. Emma was the first to reach the command center. She took one look at Rebecca and immediately started checking her vital signs. "You should be resting," Emma said firmly. "Cryo recovery takes time." "No time for that. Look outside." Emma turned to the window and her face went pale. "Oh my God. What happened here?" David arrived next, his engineering mind immediately studying the debris. "Those ships. I don't recognize any of those designs. That's not human technology." Colonel Grant was the last to arrive. He was a soldier through and through, and his eyes immediately assessed the situation as a threat. "Commander, are we in danger?" Before Rebecca could answer, Atlas spoke again. "Commander, incoming ship. It appears damaged. They are broadcasting what seems to be a surrender signal." Everyone turned to look at the screen. A small ship appeared, limping through space. It was leaking air and sparking with electrical damage. The design was completely alien, with a shell-like hull that looked almost alive. "They want to surrender to us?" David asked in disbelief. "Or they need help," Emma said. Rebecca made a choice. "Allow them to dock. But Colonel Grant, get your security team ready. We don't know what we're dealing with." 20 minutes later, the airlock opened. What came through was nothing any human had ever seen before. They looked like giant insects, standing on 6 legs with shimmering shells covering their bodies. Their eyes were huge and multifaceted, reflecting the lights in strange colors. There were 5 of them, and they were badly hurt. The largest one collapsed immediately. Emma rushed forward with her medical scanner, her doctor instincts overriding her fear. The creature flinched away from her, trembling. "Please don't hurt us," a mechanical voice said from a device on the creature's body. "We surrender. We will tell you anything. Just please show mercy." Rebecca knelt down beside it, moving slowly and carefully. "We're not going to hurt you. You're safe now. Can you tell me what happened?" All 8 of the creature's eyes focused on her with what looked like shock. "You don't know? You're not with them?" "With who?" "The Cathran Dominion." The creature shuddered, and Rebecca could feel its terror. "They came to our world 60 years ago. They took everything. They killed everyone who fought back. We have been running ever since. When we saw your ship, we thought you were them coming to finish us." Emma was already treating the creature's wounds. What's your name? I am called Vel. My people are the Vel. There are not many of us left anymore. Over the next hours, Vel told them a story that made Rebecca's blood boil. An empire that controlled 70 star systems. 17 different alien species conquered or destroyed. A military force so powerful that no one dared to resist. Monsters who ruled through fear and brutal violence. The K'Thren have controlled this part of space for 200 years, Vel explained through its translator. No one can fight them. They are too strong, too cruel. Most species surrendered after seeing what happened to the first worlds that tried to resist. Rebecca looked out at the debris field again. The K'Thren did this. Yes. This was a space station that tried to hide refugees. The Dominion destroyed it completely. 3,000 people died. They did it as a warning to others. Colonel Grant stood beside Rebecca. Commander, we need to wake everyone. If we're in hostile territory, we need our full crew. Agreed. Atlas, begin waking all 12,000 people on this ship. She turned to face her small crew. We came here to build a new world. It looks like we'll have to fight for it first. Commander, David said carefully, we're a colony ship. We have some weapons, but we're not built for war. Then we'll adapt. Atlas, scan for the other human ships. The Atlantis and New Dawn should be somewhere in this region. Scanning now, Commander. Vel watched them with its strange eyes. You're going to fight the Dominion? But you are just one ship. They have thousands of ships. You cannot win. Rebecca smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator. You don't know anything about humans, do you? I have never heard of humans before today. Let me tell you about us then. Rebecca pulled up information about Earth on the screen. We come from a planet with heavy gravity. Everything on our world tried to kill us for millions of years. Predators, diseases, disasters, and each other. We survived because we're stubborn. We survived because we're creative. We survived because we refuse to give up, no matter what. She showed images of human history. Wars and struggles spanning thousands of years. We've been fighting since we learned to walk. We've faced extinction many times. And every single time, we refused to die. Emma finished helping the last injured Vel and joined them. Rebecca, their biology is so different from ours. They are fragile. Lighter bones, weaker muscles. If most alien species are like this, then we have a physical advantage. Maybe, Colonel Grant said, thinking like a soldier. If the K'Thren evolved on a low-gravity world like the Vel, then our soldiers will be stronger and tougher than anything they've fought before. But they have better technology and more numbers, Rebecca warned. We need information. We need allies. And we need our people awake. Atlas interrupted them. Commander, I have found the other ships. The Atlantis is 40 light-years away. The New Dawn is 62 light-years away. Both ships are still drifting. Their crews are still asleep. Rebecca felt hope rising in her chest. Then we go get them. David, I need the engines working perfectly. Colonel Grant, start training our people for combat. Emma, learn everything you can about these aliens and their biology. As everyone left to do their jobs, Rebecca stood at the window looking at the stars. Somewhere out there was an empire that had never lost a war. An empire that thought it was unstoppable. They had never met humans before. The Prometheus's engines roared to life, and the ship turned toward its destiny. Behind them, the Vel watched in amazement as these strange, powerful beings from an unknown world prepared for war. The K'Thren Dominion had ruled without challenge for 200 years. But the humans were awake now. And everything was about to change. The Prometheus crossed the dark space between stars, its engines humming with purpose. Inside, thousands of cryopods were opening one by one. Men and women who had left Earth 800 years ago were waking to a universe they did not recognize. Rebecca stood in the main meeting hall, watching as confused colonists stumbled in. They had expected to wake on a peaceful new world. Instead, they woke to warnings of war. Listen carefully, Rebecca's voice carried across the room. We are not where we expected to be. We are in territory controlled by a hostile empire called the K'Thren Dominion. They have conquered 17 species. They rule through fear and violence. And we are right in the middle of their empire. Murmurs of fear and anger rippled through the crowd. A woman near the front raised her hand. Are we going to run? Try to find somewhere safe? No, Rebecca said firmly. We are going to wake our sister ships. We are going to gather strength. And we are going to make sure these bullies understand that humans will not be their victims. In the medical bay, Dr. Emma Clark was making discoveries that changed everything. Vel lay on the examination table while Emma's scanner studied every part of its alien body. Fascinating, Emma whispered. Your bone density is less than half of ours. Your muscle structure is designed for low-gravity environments. My world had lighter gravity than yours, Vel explained through its translator. Most species in this region evolved on similar worlds. The Cathren home world was also low gravity, but they genetically modified themselves to be stronger. Emma pulled up the data on her screen. Even with modifications, I doubt they could match human strength. We evolved on Earth where gravity is much heavier. Our bodies had to adapt to survive. Does this mean you can fight them? Vel asked with hope in its voice. It means we have advantages they won't expect. But we need to understand them better. Tell me about the Cathren. What do they look like? How do they fight? Vel's body shook with remembered fear. They are tall, maybe 3 meters high. They have 4 arms and scales like armor. Their teeth are like knives. They evolved as apex predators on their world. They know no mercy. Emma recorded everything. And their military tactics. Overwhelming force. When they attack a planet, they bombard it from orbit first. Then they send down shock troops. These soldiers are their strongest warriors, bred specifically for combat. No species has ever defeated them in ground battle. No species has fought humans in ground battle either, Emma said with a slight smile. In the training bay, Colonel Thomas Grant was teaching the first group of volunteers what they needed to know. Most were colonists, farmers, and engineers and scientists. But Grant had spent 30 years in Earth's military before the mission. He knew how to turn regular people into soldiers. The enemy is physically weaker than you, Grant explained to the group. But they have better weapons and armor. They have been fighting wars for 2 centuries. They are experienced and ruthless. A young man named Peter raised his hand. How do we fight someone with better technology? We don't fight fair, Grant said simply. We use tactics they won't expect. We hit them where they are vulnerable. We make them afraid. He looked around at all the faces watching him. Humans have always won wars by being smarter, not stronger. We will do the same here. Grant activated a holographic display showing different alien species. These are the races the Cathren have conquered. Study them. Learn their strengths and weaknesses. Some of them might become our allies if we can free them. Meanwhile, Engineer David Morgan was in the engine room with his team. They were stripping down every weapon system the Prometheus had. These railguns are 800 years old by Earth standards, David said, examining the massive weapons. But they are completely unknown in this region of space. The Cathren have never seen this technology before. His assistant, a woman named Helen, looked worried. Will that be enough? We only have 6 railguns. They probably have thousands of ships. Quality over quantity, David replied. These weapons fire solid projectiles at incredible speeds. No energy shields in the universe can stop a chunk of metal moving at that velocity. And our missiles use chemical propulsion, which means they don't have the energy signature that local weapons have. We can surprise them. He pulled up the design for their defensive systems. We also have electronic warfare capabilities that might give us an edge. Our jamming systems were designed to fight other human ships. Against alien technology, they might be even more effective. Days passed as the Prometheus traveled toward the Atlantis. During that time, Rebecca met regularly with Vel to learn everything she could about the Cathren Dominion. Their capital world is called Krenthis, Vel explained, showing her a star map. It is heavily defended. Thousands of ships guard it. No one has attacked it in 100 years. What about their leadership? Who makes the decisions? Grand Admiral Krell is the supreme commander of their military. He is ancient by our standards, over 200 years old. He has never lost a battle. He believes the Cathren are destined to rule the entire galaxy. Rebecca studied the alien's face. Do the Cathren have any weaknesses? Vel thought for a long moment. Pride. They have won for so long that they believe they cannot lose. They do not adapt quickly because they never needed to. And they underestimate their enemies. Good, Rebecca said. Pride comes before the fall. On the 7th day, Atlas announced their arrival. Commander, we have reached the Atlantis. The ship appears intact. All systems are in standby mode. The crew is still in cryo sleep. Rebecca felt relief wash over her. Begin docking procedures. David, I need you to interface with their systems and start the wake-up process. We need every person we can get. As the two ships connected, Rebecca allowed herself a moment of hope. They were no longer alone. Soon, 12,000 more humans would be awake. And after that, they would find the new dawn. But that hope was shattered when Atlas spoke again, its voice carrying unusual urgency. "Commander, I am detecting multiple ships approaching. Configuration matches Kthren Dominion warships. 6 vessels, heavily armed. They will be in weapons range in 20 minutes. The command center went silent. Everyone looked at Rebecca. "So they found us," she said calmly, though her heart was racing. "Colonel Grant, battle stations. David, how long until the Atlantis crew starts waking?" "At least 2 hours, Commander." "We don't have 2 hours." Rebecca took a deep breath. "Atlas, calculate firing solutions for all targets. Prepare railguns and missile tubes. We're about to show the Kthren Dominion what happens when you threaten humans." Grant stepped beside her. "Commander, we've never tested our weapons against their ships. We don't know if we can win." Rebecca looked at him with fierce determination. "Then this will be a learning experience. For both sides." The Prometheus's weapons powered up for the first time in 800 years. Ancient but deadly technology came to life. On the approaching Kthren ships, sensors detected the strange human vessel. They expected easy prey. They had no idea what was coming. The first battle between humans and the Kthren Dominion was about to begin. The 6 Kthren warships moved through space like hunting predators. On the lead ship, Commander Thrakis studied the strange vessel ahead with curiosity. The design was unknown, the energy signatures completely foreign. "Send standard surrender demand," Thrakis ordered his crew. "Tell them to power down weapons and prepare to be boarded." His communications officer sent the message. They waited. No response came. "Perhaps they do not understand our language," one officer suggested. "Then they will understand this," Thrakis said coldly. "Charge weapons. Target their engines. We will disable them and take prisoners." On the Prometheus, Rebecca watched the Kthren ships approach. Her hands gripped the command chair tightly. "They are charging weapons," Atlas reported. "Multiple targeting locks detected." "Hold position," Rebecca ordered. "Let them get closer. David, are the railguns ready?" "Charged and loaded, Commander. But I must remind you, we've never fired these in combat before. First time for everything. Colonel Grant, the moment we fire, launch boarding pods at the nearest damaged ship. I want prisoners for questioning." Grant nodded. "Understood." The Kthren ships came closer, confident in their superiority. They had done this thousands of times before. Unknown ships always surrendered or were destroyed. "Weapons range in 10 seconds, Atlas announced. Rebecca counted down in her head. When she reached 0, she gave the order that would change everything. "Fire all weapons. Now." The Prometheus's 6 railguns fired simultaneously. Solid metal projectiles shot through space at incredible velocity. The Kthren had never encountered this type of weapon. Their energy shields, designed to deflect laser and plasma weapons, did nothing against physical projectiles. The first railgun shot punched completely through a Kthren warship, entering the front and exploding out the back. The ship broke apart in a cascade of fire and debris. The second shot clipped another ship's engine section, sending it spinning out of control. The third, fourth, and fifth shots struck their targets with devastating accuracy. In less than 10 seconds, 3 Kthren ships were destroyed and 2 more were heavily damaged. Only one remained fully operational. On the lead Kthren ship, Thrakis stared in shock at his screens. "Impossible. What kind of weapons are those? Return fire immediately." The remaining Kthren ships launched their plasma torpedoes and laser batteries. Brilliant green energy bolts crossed space toward the Prometheus. The human ship's shields held, but just barely. Warning alarms screamed across the command center. "Shields at 60%, Atlas reported. Another hit like that and we will have hull breaches." "Launch missiles," Rebecca ordered. Full spread. 20 chemical propulsion missiles erupted from the Prometheus's launch tubes. The Kthren sensors barely detected them in time. Their point defense systems destroyed half the missiles, but the rest got through. Explosions rippled across the remaining Kthren ships. The damaged vessels tried to retreat, but Colonel Grant's boarding pods were already launching. Small armored capsules shot across space and slammed into the hull of the nearest crippled Kthren ship. Magnetic clamps locked them in place. Cutting torches burned through the alien hull. 20 human soldiers poured into the Kthren ship, their armor enhancing their already superior strength. They moved through corridors designed for low-gravity species, their heavy boots clanging on the metal floors. The Cathren crew tried to fight back. They were tall creatures, nearly 3 meters high, with 4 arms and scales like natural armor. Their teeth were sharp and their claws dangerous. They had been bred for war. But they had never fought humans before. Sergeant William Brooks was the first to engage a Cathren soldier in close combat. The alien was bigger, but Brooks was stronger and faster. When the Cathren swung its clawed hand, Brooks caught the arm and twisted. The alien's bones snapped like dry wood. Brooks followed with a punch that caved in the creature's chest plate. The Cathren soldier fell, gasping in shock and pain. It had fought many species, but none had ever been physically stronger than them. Secure the bridge, Brooks ordered his team. Take prisoners if possible, but don't take chances. The human soldiers moved through the ship with brutal efficiency. The Cathren crew, already injured from the earlier attack, could not mount an effective defense. Within 20 minutes, the ship was secured. On the Prometheus, Rebecca received the report. Commander, we have control of 1 Cathren vessel. 15 prisoners secured. 23 enemy casualties. Casualties on our side. 3 wounded, none serious. The Cathren couldn't penetrate our armor. Rebecca felt a grim satisfaction. Bring the prisoners to the brig. Handle them carefully but firmly. I want to speak with their commander. The sole surviving undamaged Cathren ship had fled at maximum speed, jumping to faster-than-light travel as soon as possible. On that ship, a terrified communications officer sent an urgent message back to Cathren headquarters. This is Patrol Group 7. We have encountered unknown hostile force. 5 ships lost or captured. Enemy possesses weapons we cannot defend against. Enemy soldiers are physically superior to our shock troops. Requesting immediate reinforcement and tactical analysis. The message traveled through space, reaching the Cathren capital world 3 days later. When Grand Admiral Krell read the report, he threw it aside in disgust. Impossible. Some frightened fool making excuses for his failure. Send another patrol to investigate. And have the commander of that surviving ship executed for cowardice. But deep in the military archives, analysts began studying the sensor data from the battle. What they saw troubled them greatly. These unknown ships used projectile weapons at velocities thought impossible. Their hull materials were denser than anything in known space. And their crew, the biological readings showed bone density and muscle mass far exceeding any known species. Meanwhile, back at the Atlantis, the awakening process had begun. Captain James Foster was the first to wake, his cryopod opening to reveal Rebecca standing over him. James, wake up. We have a lot to talk about. Over the next hours, Foster listened in amazement as Rebecca explained everything. The Cathren Dominion. The battle they had just won. The situation they found themselves in. You started a war, Foster said, though there was no accusation in his voice. The war was already happening. We just joined it. Rebecca showed him the star maps. The new dawn is 2 weeks away. Once we wake them, we'll have 36,000 humans. Against an empire of billions. Those aren't good odds. No, but we have advantages. We're stronger, tougher, and we fight dirty. Most importantly, we're motivated. These aliens have been bullying this region of space for 2 centuries. It's time someone stood up to them. Foster smiled. I signed up for this mission to build a new world. If we have to burn down an empire first, so be it. In the brig, Rebecca finally met a Cathren face to face. 3 months had passed since the first battle. The 3 human colony ships now traveled together, a fleet of 36,000 souls united by purpose. Word of their victory had spread through the underground networks of conquered species. Whispers traveled from world to world. The humans had defeated the Cathren. The impossible had happened. Rebecca stood before a communication array, preparing to send a message that would reach every enslaved world in the region. Beside her stood Captain James Foster and Captain Linda Harris from the New Dawn. Behind them, Colonel Grant and his officers waited in silence. This is insane, Harris said quietly. We're about to paint a target on ourselves that will never go away. The target is already there, Rebecca replied. Now we're just making sure everyone knows we're not hiding. She activated the transmitter. The message would broadcast on all frequencies, impossible to block completely. Rebecca took a deep breath and began. People of the occupied worlds, my name is Commander Rebecca Stone. I represent humanity, a species new to this region of space. We have seen what the Cathren Dominion does. We have seen the suffering they cause. We came from Earth to build a new home among the stars, but we will not do so while others live in fear and slavery. She paused, letting her words sink in across countless worlds. The Cathren want you to believe they are invincible. They are not. We have fought them and won. We are willing to fight them again. And we are asking you to stand with us. Not as followers, but as allies. Together, we can end their reign of terror. Together, we can be free. The message ended. Rebecca turned off the transmitter. Now we wait and see who answers. The first response came within 6 hours. It was from the Vel, the insectoid species that had first made contact with the Prometheus. Their representative, speaking for the scattered refugees, pledged their support. We have nothing left to lose, the Vel leader said through the communication channel. Our world is destroyed. Our people are scattered. If the humans can truly stand against the Cathren, then we will stand with them. More responses followed. The Deep-born, an aquatic species enslaved for mining operations, sent word they would sabotage Cathren facilities on their world. The Shard Collective, crystalline beings used as living computers, offered their intelligence network. Slowly, carefully, a resistance was forming. But not everyone was hopeful. On a distant conquered world called Turvix, the local governor received Rebecca's message and immediately dismissed it. Empty words, Governor Peltiz said to his council. The humans will be crushed just like every other species that tried to resist. The Cathren will make examples of them. But even as he spoke, young Tavixians were gathering in secret, listening to the human message again and again. Hope was a dangerous thing. Once it took root, it was hard to kill. On the Cathren capital world, Grand Admiral Krell was far less dismissive. He stood in the war room, studying reports from across his empire. Attacks on supply convoys. Sabotage at fuel depots. Coordinated strikes on communication relays. The humans had not simply won one battle. They were actively waging war. How many ships have we lost this month? Krell demanded. His intelligence officer hesitated. 23 vessels, Grand Admiral. Most were ambushed by human ships using hit-and-run tactics. They strike quickly, then disappear before reinforcements arrive. And the rebellions on the conquered worlds. Increasing. The humans are coordinating with resistance groups. Teaching them tactics. Providing them with hope. The officer's voice carried frustration. They are turning our own subjects against us. Krell slammed his clawed hand on the table. Then we will crush them utterly. Activate the Warlord caste. I want our best soldiers hunting these humans. And send a message to all occupied worlds. Any planet that aids the humans will be destroyed completely. No survivors. The order went out across the Empire. The Cathren warlords, genetically enhanced soldiers kept in stasis between wars, were awakened. These were the elite, warriors who had conquered entire civilizations. Each stood 4 meters tall, their bodies modified with cybernetic enhancements and biological weapons. They were the ultimate predators. 5,000 warlords were deployed across the Empire, hunting for human ships and their allies. The first confrontation happened on a small moon called Dravis. A human strike team led by Sergeant William Brooks was evacuating Vel refugees when the Cathren warlords arrived. 10 of the massive warriors dropped from orbit in armored pods, their landing shaking the ground. Brooks and his 20 soldiers formed a defensive line. They had fought regular Cathren troops before and won easily. But these were different. Bigger. Stronger. More dangerous. Hold your ground, Brooks ordered, raising his rifle. Remember your training. The warlords charged with terrifying speed. The first one reached the human line and swung a massive blade that could cut through steel. Brooks dodged, rolled, and came up firing. His bullets struck the warlord's armor, leaving dents but not penetrating. The warlord laughed, a deep rumbling sound. You are stronger than other species, little human. But you are still prey. Brooks smiled grimly. We'll see about that. He activated his armor strength enhancers and charged forward. The two collided like titans. Brooks was smaller but faster. He ducked under the warlord's blade and drove his reinforced fist into the creature's midsection. The armor cracked. The warlord gasped in surprise. No species had ever hurt a warlord in hand-to-hand combat before. Brooks followed with a series of rapid strikes, targeting weak points in the armor. The other human soldiers engaged the remaining warlords, working in coordinated teams. They used tactics the Cathren had never encountered. Trip wires and explosive traps. Flanking maneuvers and concentrated fire on single targets. The battle lasted 30 brutal minutes. When it ended, 3 humans were dead and 7 were wounded. But 6 Cathran warlords lay dead or dying. The remaining 4 had retreated, something no warlord had ever done before. Brooks knelt beside one of the fallen warlords. The creature was still breathing, its translator working despite its injuries. "How?" the warlord whispered. "We are the ultimate warriors. Undefeated for a century. How did you beat us?" "Because you've never fought anyone who refused to give up," Brooks replied. "Every species you conquered surrendered or died. Humans don't know how to quit. That's our real strength." News of the battle spread quickly. The invincible warlords had been defeated. On occupied worlds, resistance groups grew bolder. More species joined the human alliance. The Cathran Dominion, for the first time in 200 years, faced a real threat. Back on the Prometheus, Rebecca received the casualty reports from Dravis. 3 good people dead. 7 injured. But they had proven something important. Even the Cathran's best could be beaten. Dr. Emma Clark entered the command center with new information. "I've been studying the Cathran biology from our prisoners. They have weaknesses. Their enhanced warriors are powerful, but their modifications make them dependent on specific chemical compounds. Cut off their supply lines and they become vulnerable." "Can we exploit that?" Rebecca asked. 1 year had passed since the humans woke from their long sleep. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. 43 worlds had risen in rebellion. The Cathran Dominion, once unshakable, now fought desperately on multiple fronts. In the command center of the Prometheus, Rebecca studied the holographic display showing Cathran territory. Red dots marked enemy strongholds. Green dots showed liberated worlds. Blue dots indicated active battlefronts. The map was a chaotic mix of colors. "Their supply lines are stretched thin," Captain Foster said, pointing to various routes on the map. "They're trying to fight everywhere at once. It's exactly what we wanted." "But they are still strong," Captain Harris added. "Their main fleet is still intact. As long as Grand Admiral Krell controls the capital world, the Dominion survives." Rebecca nodded slowly. She had been thinking about this problem for months. "Then we take the capital. We cut off the head of the snake." The room went silent. Everyone stared at her. "That's suicide," Foster said finally. "Krenthis is the most heavily defended world in the Empire. Thousands of ships guard it. Orbital weapons platforms. Ground-based defenses. No one has even tried to attack it in 100 years. "Because no one had reason to hope they could win," Rebecca replied. "But we're not like the other species. We don't calculate odds and surrender when they are bad. We fight anyway." Colonel Grant stepped forward. "Commander, even if we somehow got through their defenses, we'd need to take the planet itself. That means ground combat against their best troops on their home territory." "I know. That's why we're going to bring everyone. All 3 colony ships. Every soldier we've trained. Every ally we've made." Rebecca's eyes were hard with determination. "We're going to show the Cathran what happens when you wake sleeping giants." The plan spread through the human fleet and to their allies. Some thought it was brilliant. Others thought it was insane. But everyone agreed on one thing: if they succeeded, the war would end. If they failed, the resistance would be crushed forever. 3 months later, the largest fleet ever assembled in that region of space gathered at a staging point. 3 human colony ships formed the core. Surrounding them were 200 vessels from 40 different species. Ships built for cargo were retrofitted with weapons. Ancient warships pulled from scrapyards were made functional again. It was not a pretty fleet, but it was determined. Rebecca broadcast a final message to everyone. "We did not come to this region of space looking for war. We came looking for peace, for a new home, for a future. But the Cathran Dominion made peace impossible. They chose violence. They chose tyranny. They chose to make enemies of humanity." She paused, letting her words echo through hundreds of ships. "Today, we teach them why that was a mistake. Today, we show them that freedom is worth fighting for. Today, we end their reign of terror. For Earth. For all the fallen. For the future." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel. When they emerged near Krenthis, the Cathran defenders were ready. Grand Admiral Krell had known this attack was coming. He had gathered the might of his empire to this one place. 3,000 warships surrounded the capital world. "So the prey finally comes to us," Krell said from his command ship. "They have courage, I will give them that. But courage is not enough. Destroy them all." The space battle that followed was the largest in recorded history. Cathran plasma weapons filled the void with green fire. Human railguns answered with devastating kinetic strikes. Ships exploded. Debris fields expanded. The battle raged for 3 full days without pause. The K-Thren had superior numbers, but the human tactics were unpredictable. They used asteroids for cover. They employed suicide runs that no sane species would attempt. They coordinated with their allies in ways the K-Thren could not counter. Slowly, impossibly, the humans pushed forward. On the 3rd day, Colonel Grant led the ground assault. 200 dropships fell through Krenthus's atmosphere like meteors, carrying 10,000 human soldiers and 20,000 allied troops. K-Thren defense batteries destroyed half the dropships, but the rest landed. The K-Thren defenders were ready. Warlords and shock troops by the thousands met the invaders. The battle for the capital city was brutal beyond description. Buildings burned. Streets ran with blood of a dozen different species. Neither side gave ground easily. But humans had one advantage the K-Thren could not match. Humans had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. They knew urban combat. They knew siege tactics. They knew how to turn a city into a weapon. Sergeant Brooks fought through the streets toward the Imperial Palace. His armor was scorched and dented. Half his squad was dead or wounded. But they kept moving forward. A massive warlord blocked their path, standing 4 meters tall with weapons in all 4 hands. "You cannot win, human," the warlord growled. "Even if you take this city, you cannot hold it. Even if you kill Krell, another will rise. The Dominion is eternal." Brooks raised his weapon, exhausted but unbowed. "Nothing is eternal. You should have learned that by now." The fight was quick and vicious. Brooks and 3 other soldiers coordinated their attack perfectly. The warlord fell, and the path to the palace opened. Inside the palace, Grand Admiral Krell waited in his command center. He watched his empire crumbling on the displays around him. 200 years of conquest, ending in a single battle. When the doors burst open and human soldiers poured in, Krell did not try to flee. He stood tall, his scales gleaming under the harsh lights. Colonel Grant entered last, his weapon trained on the Grand Admiral. "It's over," Grant said simply. Krell looked at him with something like respect. "You fight well, for prey species. Perhaps I underestimated you. That was your first mistake. Your second was thinking we'd give up." Grant gestured to his soldiers. "You're under arrest for war crimes. You'll face justice from every species you've tormented. And if I refuse, then you die here. Your choice." Krell considered for a long moment, then slowly lowered his weapons. The symbol of K-Thren power, undefeated for 2 centuries, surrendered to a species he had never heard of a year ago. In orbit, the space battle was ending. The K-Thren fleet, seeing their capital fallen and their leader captured, began to surrender. Ship after ship powered down weapons and transmitted capitulation codes. Rebecca watched from the Prometheus as the impossible became reality. They had won. The cost had been terrible. 8,000 humans dead. Tens of thousands of allies killed. 2 of the 3 colony ships badly damaged. But they had won. Dr. Emma Clark found Rebecca in the observation deck hours later. "It's really over, isn't it? The war is over. But the work is just beginning." Rebecca looked out at the scarred planet below. "We need to rebuild. Create a real peace, not just the absence of war. Make sure this never happens again." "Do you think we can?" Rebecca smiled tiredly. "We crossed the stars in our sleep. We woke up in a war zone and defeated an empire. I think we can do anything." 50 years later, Rebecca Stone stood on Vel Prime at a dedication ceremony. She was old now, her hair white, her body frail. But her eyes still held fire.